Hey, this is Austin with Counterculture Farms. Everything we do is different. You can taste it. So, what are we doing right now? We are moving our cows just like we do every single day, sometimes several times a day. I'm going to show you just in a second about what we're doing for weed control, what we're doing really for livestock management, for health management. It's all tied together. Look at that heifer coming up. Oh my goodness, girl. That is nice. That is nice. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we got planted right here is sorghum Sudan grass, okay? So this is a summer annual cover crop. Most people are planting winter cover crops if they're planting anything. I mean, most people aren't planting, I should say. But the ones who are planting cover crops are doing it in the winter or fall months, okay? Comes up in the spring, really great. So pushed up all this brush right here. Still need to finish burning, but let's go, girl. Calm cattle right here, calm cattle. So all this right here, this patch right over here was one of the weediest patches of this pasture. It still is. Right down there in the bottom where the cows are, you got, really it had goat weed and pig weed right here last year. And there wasn't much grass growing. It was so high and so thick that I actually had to come in and brush hog because, I mean, there was nothing there. I mean, the cows went and stomped it out. But here, I'll show you this patch over here that's still pretty strong. So can you get out of my way, man? We're trying to go eat. Hey, old girl. Okay, here we go. So see all the pigweed? This stuff right here, it's got different names, but there we go. So this weed was taking over the whole spot. Right now there's really not even any goat weed. We've choked most of it out. So what I do for weed control is I let the vegetation grow. I have no freaking idea why people think it's smart to go spray. Okay, look at all this fertilizer. Look at all this free food for the soil. Chemical fertilizer is not food for the soil, okay? Not at all. It feeds the plants NPK. It separates the communication, the community between plants and soil, okay? Completely separates that to where they don't know how to communicate. And then later when the chemical fertilizer runs out, then what? They have to relearn the relationship all over? That is not what nature does. Mycorrhizal fungi, ever heard of that? Okay? Come on, everything is deeply connected. The roots talking to each other, okay? Plants sending nutrients back and forth to each other, water. Come on. It's a community down there. So all this right here, I mean, really, this is about 4 foot high. Look at that cow in it, okay? She's on the edge of it. Up to her back almost. Some of it's over her back. So what are we doing here? Well, this year we planted the sorghum Sudan grass. You can see the tops coming up. Looks like corn, right? The thick green leaves. It's growing in through here. That's helped. This is a water weed right here. Grows in wet areas. It is definitely strong in here too. But look at all this thick grass, okay? So the cows just troughed off through here. But, I mean, look at that. You got to dig to get through. And then we're barely, there we go. There's a little soil. That's what you want. That's how you beat the weeds. It's very simple. This is a native sage right here. Okay, it's got the square stem. That's how you know, right? That's what family. It's indicative of that family. Okay, so they will eat the tops off all this. Okay, the sheep will come off and they will eat even more of that. But I'm not worried about it as long as it's just not taking over. So this spot right here was 2 to 3 times this size last year. All right, good. We're knocking it back. I'm just using. They won't even eat all this. See? It's all standing up, and this is where the cow walked through. All that dies will just decompose. Some of the grasses will go on living, and then the other stuff will decompose. The earthworms pull it down into the soil. I mean, it's really, really simple. If you're wondering, that's an old, what do they call it? The molasses feeders, or the liquid feed that they feed in the winters. That's from the previous owner, and I just hadn't gotten it out of the field yet. But anyways, there ain't nothing in it. Just figured I'd let you know because we do 0 grain here. So anyways, one of the questions I got the other day was, how do you beat goat weed, right? How do you manage it? Well, don't let your soil get like this. Don't let your pasture look like this. That's what goat weed loves. Hard, compact soil, very little organic matter, no competition. That stuff will grow to the size of the tree. Here we go, here's a little one, as we're talking about it, right? Here's a little one, right? Goat weed, dove weed, woolly croton, okay? Most people I know in East Texas think this is an invasive weed. It is not. This is a native species here, okay? Goodness, okay? When we learn what plants are, because I do not know what all these are, a lot of these I don't know. But when we learn, go learn about them. Don't just spout what someone else told you, because they're just telling you what someone else told them. A lot of people do that. Ask questions. Look, snake bite right there. She already drained some, and now it's puffing back up again, so I got to get her in the chute, and we need to drain all that out. Maybe I'll snap a video of that when we get it going. Need to get her up after we finish this pasture, so probably 2 days I'll pull them out and get her out. It was looking good up until about a day or two ago. I started noticing the swelling. So I'm monitoring it. If it gets worse, it looks the same as it did past 2 days. So if it gets worse, I may pull her up quicker. But it ain't a quick job getting all these cows out of here. So anyways, they're hungry. Back to the goat weed. All this area right here is prime for it. There's not much thick vegetation growing in here. Another little goat weed coming up. Okay, this is not much though. Some of my other pastures have more. But the best way to beat goat weed is to keep your vegetation high and thick. In the spring, we get so excited and we come out, we graze everything, but we graze too hard, okay? I do the same thing. I used to do it all the time. I would graze too low and then the weeds would jump up. See, right here, another one. The weeds would jump up and they would start defeating the grass. And then next thing I knew, it was all taken over everywhere. Well, there's barely any goat weed out here just compared to last year where it had taken over. Now there's still quite a bit of this pigweed, but hey, it looks a whole lot better. When I bring the sheep through, they knock all these plants way back. So anyways, it's all getting better, and that's what we're doing, is moving in the right direction. But you have to manage your grazing better, okay? So we all do, and I do it very poorly often, right? Like I'll graze too low, I didn't take enough, I didn't do tight enough spacing. Grass is the forgiveness of nature, right? Okay, so it's okay, just you learn, do better the next day. But all this in here, so we hadn't even grazed this yet, look how short it is, okay? Yeah, we really don't want it to look like this, right? But there's very low organic matter over here. This is where the cows have bed down a lot, when they weren't moving them around, so this was all bare soil. It looks a lot better now. But the point of all that is just as thick as your vegetation as you can get it to grow, do it. And keep it as high as you can without letting it get overly mature. I know it sounds easier, right? It sounds easier said than done. But when you come in on that spring grazing, you gotta make sure, like I'm hitting it about 18 inches to 2 foot. Like it's really getting pretty mature, but my goal is not only to keep up with the forage and keeping it at that special juvenile state where it's got the most nutrients, okay? That's not my only goal. I have weeds trying to take over my pasture also because of poor management for decades, right? For generations, poor management. Okay, and you're coming in and trying to change all that. So I'm giving the soil more help than it would normally get. What would the big herds do? They'd come in when the grass was tall, they'd knock it all down, they'd eat some, trample a lot, and then what? They'd leave it to regenerate, okay? So I'm saying that you're coming back too soon. Now, that's easier said than done again, but you got to give it more rest and not hit it as hard. If you don't take as much from the grass, it will grow up a whole lot quicker. If you take half the plant versus taking 3/4, it has more energy reserves when you take less of it. So you take the tops off, very simple, come in, one bite, right? And then move on. We don't want the cows in here for a long time because they'll go back to that same spot, okay? They'll go back to the same spot and they'll take another bite. So then the grass will be too low. You have to let your vegetation get up to be able to control and choke out the weeds. If we're focusing on sprays and all these other things and mowing, we do a ton of brush hogging for goat weed, okay? A ton. We'll wait, I mean, gosh, by the end of the summer and grass is short and it ain't growing much, not much rain. I mean, those goat weeds are like trees. They're like chest high and, you know, stalks bigger than your thumb. Okay, so we come in and we mow those down, but gosh, it's already choked out all the vegetation underneath. I mean, we kind of lost by that point. The goat weed got to grow into a tree and die. That's what it wanted to do. I mean, yeah, you chopped it down before, I guess, it put out all of its seeds, and that's a win, but the seed bank is full in the soil. If we're only focusing about what's growing up top, we are missing the point majorly. Majorly. Millions of seeds in the soil waiting at all times to germinate, just waiting for that right set, the right environment, the right wind, the right rain, the right date. Very smart. Nature is wise, okay? So what are we doing? We're playing her game. We let it grow up tall, then we let it fully mature. By doing that, look, in the back, right behind the cows, not in this weedy patch right in front of them, in the back, that barely grew anything, okay? I mean, really, like 2-3 inch tall grass. It looked like this stuff right in front of us. Bare soil, patches like that, not very thick. That's a 1.5 years of management right now. This is the second summer we've been on this, and it already looks 10 times better. Okay, yes, we planted a summer annual, but I'm talking about the grasses that were here last year underneath the summer annual. I mean, the Bermuda, the Bahia, it's all twice as thick, twice as tall, sometimes, some spots 3 or 4 times. It's amazing what nature will do when you stop spraying poisons and you start treating her like a lady and not like a tramp. Come on now, people. So I'm going to end on that because that was a damn good line. Hey, leave your questions below, like, subscribe, make sure you're seeing the new videos coming out, and make sure to keep it counterculture, folks.